Hey there, and good afternoon. It is December 7th, Sunday, 12:35 p.m., and I've been up for a while, and I got my day started. I cleaned up my kitchen because, I have to have everything in order, and I know that me and my son are two different people, and, I love my son, but it's just like I'm very, meticulous when it comes to how my house looks because, I believe in, cleanliness is next to godliness. And I believe that's true. I believe keeping your house clean is a very positive thing for positive energy, positive mindset, everything. And I think a lot of people are very sensitive, not just me, but there's some people, for example, you walk into a place and you notice that there's some clutter and people immediately start to become, what do you call it? And they start to become consumed with anxiety. And there is I forgot, is a hormone or a certain emotion that gets ignited when people are confronted with junk, okay, or things that are like, messy or makes them feel uncomfortable. So I don't like clutter at all. And so I'm very careful about those things. And see, me and my son are two different people. We are two different people. Just because we are related does not mean that we have the same values, the same sensitivities, or whatever. And a lot of this has to do with external influence. And I have come to realize that my son had come to know some of the people here in this community beyond the people that I knew that he was in touch with. But when you think about it, this community is very intertwined. Everybody knows people. And, I believe that my son has been exposed to behavior that I find unacceptable. Okay. And I'm addressing this because this is a very ignorant community, a very ignorant community. And I'm not comfortable with, them bringing their issues into my home and using a forceful nature to do so. Okay. There's a lot of lying, deception, fraud going on. And, it becomes uncomfortable for me because I recognize it and see it for what it is. Okay. And I do not want to attack anyone, like, I don't want people to think I'm coming off harshly, but it should be understandable that people are entitled to have the best life they possibly can. And I have put things in place to try to do that. I feel as though I have carried my weight in life. Everybody's responsibility to themselves is to carry their weight in life, meaning, like, you got everybody is supposed to take care of their own life plans. Everybody is responsible for their own self. This is something that maybe a lot of people in this community, as well as other people around the world, may not understand. And then, like I said, I've mentioned generational ignorance several times. Okay. So where we have people who sometimes become burdens to other people because, they do not have an understanding of how to take care of themselves. This is a result of not having proper guidance from their parents, not having proper guidance from their community, people just living in darkness, ignorance. I will say the Christian agenda, I don't like to, well, I guess, okay, I'm going to have to call it Christianity. Okay, I'm going to have to recognize the fault of even mainstream Orthodox Christianity when it comes to the cloning process. Okay, yes, the clones were introduced, and records of our, I guess our creation, I should say, and our genealogical information was, obtained through certain religious institutions and was showered down and shared with other religious institutions that were not necessarily meant to be affiliated with each other. Okay. And what this did was it inspired people to make us targets. Okay. To bully us, to whatever, to be overly fixated on us and create problems for us. When I say us, I'm referring to my soul tribe, and then also go in when it comes to my specific information, my specific uh, situation, and having to deal with the things that I had to deal with. And so, when it comes, I do recognize the fact that the kids of 533, that was their own weirdness. Okay, like, they wanted to, like, for example, them wanting to limit my rights to go to places like Trader Joe's, or wanting to be obsessive about the kind of friends I have, or want to interrupt or intervene in things that they shouldn't. For example, my brand. My brand is the Swan Song Manifesto, as well as Gordon's Occupational Engineering. They are all owned and occupied by me. As informal as it may seem, okay, they are my creations and I'm associated with it. And my siblings would be the kind of individuals that would be described as people who do not understand that it is their responsibility to pull the weight for their own lives. Okay, many people are dependent on other people, and they should not be. Okay, I am not consenting to do that. I have no interest in merging with that, which I've made myself very clear. Okay, when people attach themselves illegally to people, through that, whether that be through forced marriages or, because a sibling entitlement, or whether adopted or blood relations, especially if that person is over the age of 18, it is unacceptable. Okay. And this, it would be considered a trafficking issue, if not a stalking issue, which I would say they're all similar, because when you think about human trafficking, gang stalking, it's an accumulation of several different factors. Stalking is one of them, harassment, and, unlawful, like surveillance, and, the participation of, what do you call it, organized crime syndicates, people arranging certain things so that events could unfold in a certain way. Okay. So this is highly problematic, and yes, it is organized crime. Okay, because a lot of people, no, number one, right now, what I'm trying to address is I'm trying to address the Bakersfield employers, and the reason why is because I've come to understand that these ideas were not just created. Well, it was, I would say, the initial targeting, started, in the bullying started from the kids of 533 and their clan. Okay, meaning their very strange cult that came about, which was derived from Bakersfield employers, a combination of different Bakersfield employers, who, of course, came from different religious denominations. I already talked about what defines a cult, okay, and this is a cult, okay. And I have no interest in participating in any sort of cult uh, associations, affiliations. I don't want, and so this particular cult does things, that I'm not comfortable with, including, creating spies and, this sort of stuff. I've already talked about why this obviously proves my point when it comes to the lack of education, and then also the deliberate participation of human trafficking. Because, like I said, I feel as though throughout the years I have made enough statements and have given enough information to tell people, whether that be through the laws that are govern our state as well as our country, and then also the laws that, well, the spiritual, like, views of what was written in the Bible. Okay, because I understand that this sort of behavior is unacceptable, especially for people who claim to be walking in the footsteps of Jesus Christ. Okay, and I am not in any way a Bible thumper. I am not. Okay, because I feel as though I live a spiritual life, that I don't need to sit here and regurgitate stuff that's already written. I like literally live a very spiritual life. Okay, so this is why I'm able to identify hypocrites. I'm able to identify them. Okay, I understand what people do out of sense of competition, and what they are supposed to do as people who are imitating, the Savior. Okay, so. And then also, I understand that this has ruffled a lot of feathers, mainly because what these people did, the goal of these people were to bully me. Okay, and bullying could get out of control. This is what I'm saying. It needed to stop a long time ago. And why am I bringing this up? Because, I woke up today and I realized, like, all of these people are interconnected. We have my rental place. All of these people communicate with each other. And, I wasn't comfortable with my rent being unpaid. I just come to find this out. And I did talk to my son about it, and he assures me that he's going to take care of it. I'm washing my hands of it. Okay. The message I'm getting right now is that I could start and people appreciate the information that I talk about when it comes to creating families, having family values. Okay. Why is that significant? It is because, you know, when it comes to how to formulate a good foundation for your upbringing, okay, your family is supposed to be able to pave the way for that. Your family is the foundation of who you are. And I talk about self-love because Self-love is important because if you love yourself, then you love your offspring, period. Okay, like you wouldn't want to walk off the edge of a cliff, therefore, and because they are of your stock, who you are, you would not want your offspring to walk off a cliff because they are an extension of you. Okay, and so I was not comfortable with you bringing my son into this and trying to make him betray me in that sort of manner. Okay, I have, these are my views and I have the legal right to have them. And I think what these people were trying to do was to trying to convert me not to a religion, but to a lifestyle, to accept the belief systems. And when I say belief, they're not necessarily religious. They could be maybe habits. Maybe they want. I've known that they've. It seems as though they've tried to, force their food taste or their food preferences on me. One time they brought over some commodities, and I didn't take it as a like a what do you call it? I didn't take it as, I don't take gifts of any kind of as something that I should feel good about. Not because I'm a difficult person, not because I feel I'm ungrateful. It is because I'm a victim of human trafficking. And oftentimes, everything, anything and everything that happens to you is of a deliberate attempt. Okay. Now, like I said, I don't believe in going to the doctor. And I've already talked about this in several videos. I've also addressed it in things like human trafficking. I mean, human targets, okay, which, I ended up promoting that video when there was obstruction to allow me to do that. And what was the part of the obstruction of letting me make money off of that video is this particular cult type group, okay, going around spreading things like don't support Maria, blah 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 blah. That is a form of blacklisting, okay? And I'm giving you the information to the Bakersfield employers. Yes, blacklisting is against the law. Now, what these people think, these women who attacked me, they look at their lives and they compare themselves to me a lot, okay? When we develop our professions, okay, some people may have thought that I was nothing, okay? And the reason why is because throughout the years of my life, I have been seen through the eyes of these particular groups, thinking that I was somehow flawed, spiritually, yeah, spiritually flawed. Something, that I was, something about the way that I believed, and I believe correctly. You know what I mean? I'm extremely spiritually explorative. That does not make me a bad person. And when you look at the history of burden babies, these babies were duplicated. When I mean duplicated, cloned, brought back because we are of considerable stock, meaning we have great DNA. There's something special about us, and this is what these people were obsessed about throughout these centuries, bringing us back over and over and over and over again. Okay, but people think that my life is great. No, it is not great. And what makes it unhappy is the fact that I have to deal with people that do things and take liberties that they have no right to touch. And I would say that because of these people are very ignorant and I would say immature, they have possibly through the generations of their family or whatever have seen this sort of behavior, thinking that it's okay if you see somebody who has more than you or you perceive that they do, okay, that you have some sort of entitlement to destroy it, to combat it in ways that are, going to affect them. That these sort of competitions are illegal. Okay, they're illegal, and these particular women were not aware of this. Okay, and why did they feel entitled to do it? I would say mainly because of the participation of the kids of 533. A lot of people think that, oh, this is her family, and possibly when my mother was still alive, she may have, seemed like she was going along with it too, because my mother was the kind of person. I make fun of my Mary Gordon a lot because I knew that she was an ignorant one when I was little, and this is the reason why I kind of snickered about it behind her back. But I really did love my mother. I did, okay. But it is what it is. So the people think that it's okay because a family member is associated, and when employers start to believe this, this is where it becomes a problem, because this is a form of, it's outright human trafficking. And if not, I want to focus on the stalking aspect of it. Okay, so these women were deceived. And see, it's important for people who are educated to be able to reflect back into their arsenal of knowledge. Okay, that, and so what needs to be examined here is the education system. Okay, there's a few factors that need to be considered. Okay, the education system, what is it when it comes to how management, the issue of management, okay, the management of businesses in general. Now, there's different textbooks that support, college education. They come from different sources. Some, I know McGraw-Hill. I mean, I've always been a McGraw-Hill junkie, okay, but I know McGraw-Hill is someone who is very proactive in education. I would say most of my learning came from McGraw-Hill materials, okay. So, and this is just because we were very much into home study, even though we went to regular school. My father was somebody who's like that, and I too, as an adult, have always like been that way. I would collect, things from this particular company. I used to have a collection. As a matter of fact, I used to keep a couple of textbooks because I was poor, in the '90s, and I used to use a couple textbooks to prop up my couch. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to textbooks, what exactly is the information in there? Are they focusing on? I believe the bulk of it should be focused on, and the textbooks that I have had, have focused on, yes, talking about the ethical aspects of running a business, and of course the legalities. Okay, and that is the platform of how businesses should be run, because you're supposed to be able to protect your reputation, and also, to truly show that you have integrity. Okay, and I understand, people use this in advertisements, in statements, in business statements and stuff like this all the time, right? But this is what it is. It's like, and what we see in these women who participated in this, people should be scared to do business with companies that participate in stuff like this for several reasons. Okay, these women tend to think that my life is so great. Well, it is not. Okay, I'm somebody who deals with a severe depression just because I have had to deal with being a victim of this cloning process. Okay, and then having to deal with toxic people. I have dealt with toxic people my entire life. I have only encountered toxic people. I have only encountered, what I call the low grade hypocritical Christians. Okay. And the reason why is because if you are a victim of these sort of programs, this is all you're going to be surrounded by. And you come to realize that these people are, being brainwashed, and they tend to repeat the patterns of what maybe the main perpetrator has said. So people have seen my video, Human Targets. I did allow that to be available to people who wanted to watch it. And I believe I have pinpointed the main perpetrators. I have called out people of the 533 clan, as well as the people who are associated with them. I understand everything and everyone that I interact with is involved in the targeting process. Okay, this group needs to disband, meaning it needs to stop and shut down its operations when it comes down to, the things that they do to take any sort of action against me, because I'm tired of it. So I did talk to my son about it, and I let my son know that I'm aware of it. Now, he's never going to sit here and confirm that, and because there's a lot of, I think he feels a certain sense of guilt maybe towards, being a part of this. What you guys did was wrong. Okay. When it comes to, like, I hate to, I am not a Christian. I don't, when I say Christian, I am not somebody who belongs to a specific church or a religion. Okay. But when it comes to the values of what like a Christian is supposed to have, believe it or not, I would say that I fit that bill. Why? Because I do understand that there is a certain way of life. There is a certain way of behaving. There's a certain way to promote peace, and this is what I do. Okay, I do not affect the lives of other people. I recognize their right to exist. It is not my place, even regardless of my anointing, right, to sit here and bully people or try to make them feel. I do not believe that Jesus has ever sat here and tried to orchestrate and force his belief on anyone, ever. Okay, so when people do this sort of stuff, take active measures to try to lure people, trick people, deceive people, and force people into believing something, I'm going to tell you, it is never holy. Okay, And here we live in a country that, the United States was set up so that people can enjoy and see God the way that they wanted to. They never took an effort to force people into this. This is what something that they learned not to do, because there was a time where the founders were oppressed by religious institutions, so they wanted America to be free of this, okay? Because really, we do have the right to see God the way that we want to, our individual ways. So that's one thing I wanted to address, because as I go forward, I am tired of dealing with this issue. Okay, and it's important that I call out names in the past, because people needed to know that you had more. This particular network, this trafficking network, had more abilities, more people to participate in this. Okay, they were trying to set me up and use other people, so they had more people on their, I guess, team, their their little group, their organized crime syndicate. Okay, and I don't have anyone. Okay, and they wanted to make it so that my son was going to be a part of their little warped game. Okay, and that right there is unacceptable to me. That is absolutely unacceptable, and it's immoral, it is wrong, and it's shocking. Okay, so no, it is not good business that people do this sort of stuff. Okay, it's absolutely devastating, and work should never be associated with trauma, betrayal, depression, and all the things that these people have brought into my life. Okay, so yes, I am the writer of the Blessings Quarterly newsletter. Okay, and I do know that this particular network saw my work and assumed, because that they were employers, or that they worked with me, they thought that they had some sort of jurisdiction over the things that I produce. This is my work is an extension of, it's everything to me. Okay, so like I said, I use it also as a form of a portfolio. Like people might, like I remember doing the newsletter when I worked at BT Trucking. I did a few newsletters for BT Trucking. I also did a pitch deck for BT Trucking. Okay, I didn't particularly like my pitch deck, but it was okay. It could have been better. You know what I mean? But it's what I'm saying is that I'm letting people know that these are my skills. I'm demonstrating my skills, okay? At the same time, I'm also trying to build something for the future, okay? And this is what I need to do. People need to be focused, okay? So when it comes to your personal career, or what it is that you need to do, maybe you want to expand that. Maybe you want to add some it's adding novelty into your profession. It's a completely legitimate move, especially if you have been gang stalked. And the reason why I created OneGo.com is because I felt as though the employment manipulation was damaging to me. Why? Because, like I said, here in California and the United States of America, we are entitled to employment. I'm entitled to employment without being harassed. And what the harassment did, it made it so that I'm going from job to job to job. Okay. And it should not be that way. Okay. I want a resume that looks like I have strong longevity, and I should have had control over that. Unfortunately, I didn't. So, now I'm at a point where it's like, okay, I needed to be able to have my own company. So it is considered my own company. Why? Because people could either um, pay me as Maria Gordon separately and put me on a 1099, okay, as if I'm somebody who is my skills are being utilized, and then they're paying me as my company. All checks would be written to Maria Gordon, okay? Or you could hire me as an employee, okay? Whatever the case is, I want people to get a full scope of everything that I do. On a resume, you want to keep your resume anywhere between 1 to 2 pages long. It should not be like, this grand old thing. So by creating my own website, it allows me to showcase my work, and it allows people to know what I'm doing. And it gives me the flexible options of either working as an independent contractor or somebody who is employed. So I can get paid by, the 1099 or the W-4 form. Okay. So this is why I decided to, to do it. And I did not appreciate other people obstructing that. Okay. The message I'm getting right now is that I am acknowledged and praised in all faiths. Okay. So it's important that, I am looking for work. I have the right to look for work. It is illegal to obstruct me. Okay, I don't want to deal with fake job interviews. I don't want to deal with any of that. I feel like it's a form of disrespect. It should be considered an ill-mannered thing to do within a company. So, like for example, if you work for a company and you're, you know, some of these girls, who were a part of this group, it's like they wasted company time to harass a person. Okay. And this should, I'm pretty damn sure that this is never on somebody's, what do you call it, company policy. Now, some of these women did it because I smoke marijuana. Okay. Well, I have the right to smoke marijuana. Marijuana is legal. And let me explain what legal is. Legal means that you are allowed to do it without any sort of penalty. Okay. Like, for example, and the only person who has the right to enforce a penalty is a law enforcement agent. Okay. So it's not for you to take it upon yourself to punish people, to try to penalize people. Like, for example, I'm going to deny this person a service because they do something that I don't want to do. Okay. That right there is what I'm saying. Okay. If marijuana is considered legal, it means that I am not supposed to suffer any penalty for it, period. Okay. And so this is what I'm saying is like marijuana at this point is should be looked upon just like alcohol, wine, beer, the common things that people drink or whatever. Okay. And of course, the limitation on these sort of things is the fact that we're not supposed to get behind the wheel. You're not supposed to make these things available to minors. And as long as you're within these guidelines, you are free to do so. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that I people look at me as self-made. Okay. Yes, I did have institutional learning. Okay. But I'm saying is, but the bulk of my learning, but basically is what they call me being an autodidact. Okay, the bulk of my learning comes from being an autodidact. Okay, and like I said, I have plenty of textbooks from McGraw Hill. I also have textbooks from like Thompson, Thompson Education Center. Some of these are, but the point is that uh, college education needs to be carefully examined as to what, and comparisons need to be made within textbooks. Okay, so that's one possibility. Maybe they're not being told these things. You know what I mean? But to me, that is the foundation of how to run a business. Understanding the ethical and the legalities of it. Okay, so that's one factor we need to consider. The other factor we need to consider is the possibility of receiving this information at one point, and the fact that these people just forget it. They take the test, and as they move along through the other courses and other issues in their life, then they just passed a test enough to get by in the school system, but they really did not retain what they learned, nor did they put it into practice. That is another factor. So how do we eliminate this problem? See, and see, this is what I'm talking about. The school system needs to be revised. Now, I remember seeing a video a couple of days ago about, this is a woman who teaches, I guess, high school, and she was basically talking about the same thing. People really are not um, educated. Okay, and she was talking about some of these kids that do not even know how to read. They don't understand what a paragraph is. Okay, and yet somehow they get passed to go to high school. If you don't know what that is the sort of stuff you were supposed to learn in early education in grade school. Okay, and so something is wrong. Something is very wrong with kids who, like this generation. And see, I'm trying to provide some sort of solution and some sort of deep, yeah, to tackle this issue, because this right here, this human trafficking stuff, is a result of this sort of ignorance. Just people passing by, or people getting by. Okay, and then getting by and then lying about it and then hurting other people to cover the fact that they're not qualified, that they don't know, blah 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 blah, all the way down the line. Okay, and unfortunately, this is what I'm talking about, and these people would be considered what I call human scrap heap. Why? Because they're not making society better. Okay, they're dragging everybody down with them. Okay, and it is a absolutely devastating situation. Okay, so we need to get adults on board as to what they should be knowing. They should have known already. And this was my thing. We need to educate adults, and we need to start revising the education system in the school system. Okay. In the meantime, I personally feel as though people who want to continue on with these practices of things like gang stalking and illegal activity, they need to be identified, they need to be brought to justice, and we need to move on. Okay, we cannot take responsibility for people who are already like this, or the kind of damage that was done. When it comes to the legal system, when it comes to the legal system, ignorance is not an excuse. It is not an excuse, okay? Because deep down inside, okay, on a psychological level, deep down inside, these people know what they're doing is wrong, okay? This is the reason why the program is covert. This is the reason why, people don't want to come up and just say it. This is the reason why they send in spies. This is the reason why they behave the way that they do, okay? So they know that they may not know that it's illegal, but they certainly know that it's unethical. They certainly know that it's sneaky, and they certainly know that it's against the person's will. Okay, so therefore, it is not an excuse. It is not an excuse. Okay, so these people are considered to be what they are. Okay, so my point is that society needs to be improved. You know what I mean? And like I said, I have never taken a political stance. I have never been political. Meaning, I've already have my views of what is right and wrong. I never thought or to share them. I never thought to express my opinion. I just knew that other people did things that, quite frankly, I would never do. And I figured as long as it wasn't affecting me, whatever. Okay. But the fact of the matter is now it is affecting me. In fact, it's affecting a lot of people, okay, in staggering numbers, okay, and it has, you know, I have to look at the statistics of these people who walk around believing that they're educated when they are really not. I have to sit here and analyze their actions when they should know better, and it shows in society. It shows in everything that they do, okay, and it's affecting my life. It is affecting life in general. It's affecting the quality of life. Like I said, when I was younger, I've always thought that you get a job, you work, you devote yourself to your job in a sense of where you make sure that you come in every day, you complete the assignments, you participate in what you make yourself available to your team members and this sort of stuff. And this should be enough to continue having stable employment. You hope to get a stable employment and be able to retire. This sort of stuff is unimaginable now. Why? Because we do not have good management. Okay, people fail to put proper systems in place. Why did this happen? Is because people fail to have proper systems in place, and they fail to acknowledge the meat and potatoes of what makes these sort of businesses ethical, how to create a positive platform. It doesn't matter to them, or they didn't even consider it. And see, this is where I immediately identify these people as fraud. No, they do not know what they're doing. They do not know what they're doing, and this whole issue proves it. So this is not an argument. This is my addressing to the Bakersfield employers. I am a serious, dedicated worker. I am somebody who is reliable. I can be relied upon. Okay? Even in situations that have created setbacks for me, I understand that I have a responsibility because I protect my name. Okay? And my name is important. Meaning my name, my reputation, everything that I do, I am a person who shows that I have integrity. Okay, I get to work on time. If you ask me to do an assignment, it gets done. You know what I mean? I'm always making sure I cover my bases. Just because if by mere chance, most of the time I don't take days off. Okay, but if I do, you rest assured, I always make sure that I don't skip a beat. If I'm supposed to turn something in, I don't use, oh, I wasn't at work that day, so I'm going to use that as an excuse. No, I always get everything done. Okay, I'm like clockwork. And I feel as though, these people have bullied me because they know that I'm the best employee. Okay, and why do these women bully me? Because they look at my looks and they feel threatened by it. This is their responsibility to take care of their own upkeep on their own appearance. Okay, you don't, just because a person, they look at you and they're like, oh, well, she's nice looking, that's not a reason to attack a person. Okay, if I'm a nice looking person, I dress well or whatever, that is something that is an asset to a company. Okay, it means that the morale is up in the company. It means a person cares enough to represent the company in its proper form. instead of coming to work in flip-flops and sweats and wearing clothes that are considered street attire. Okay, so I'm very unhappy with my situation. Okay, so people think, oh, she's got a great life. No, I have a life of a history of evil people, betrayals. I'm a person who lives a solitary existence because there's no one who I can trust. So when people look at me and they think, oh, she's got such a great life, no, I don't. I don't have a good life. Okay. I have the only good part about my life is what I have been able to create of myself. Everything around me is shit. Okay. So I deserve to be around people that I feel, are on my level. I deserve to be around people who I connect with. I deserve to be around people who are I want to be around high vibrational people. Okay. And I know that because of this campaign smear and people taking an active measure, like for example, this particular group was actually telling people to not communicate with me. Okay. That's blacklisting right there. I have the right to sit here and find my tribe. It is what it is. The message I'm getting right now is that yes, I am of divine origin and people do understand it. And yes, I am somebody who has been with the formula education system, meaning and this gives me the opportunity to compare and contrast. Okay. Because something is going on in the education system that is lacking. And I would say a lot of teachers are lacking, a lot of possibly textbooks are lacking. Okay, memory retention is lacking. And like I said, the textbooks that are supplied to different institutions are going to vary. Okay. And then we also have the issue of public versus religious institutions. If religious institutions are teaching their kids only about religious figures, they are not going to be well equipped to deal with the outside world because they're going to have a very limited view. And what I'm saying is 100% realistic. Okay. So this video is definitely for the Bakersfield employers. I am looking for business owners who care about their companies. I am looking for business owners who care about the longevity and the reputation of their companies. Okay. I am the kind of person that you would want on your team. Why? Because I am somebody who follows through. I'm somebody who represents things in a professional way. Okay. Yes, I do smoke marijuana, but that's on my own time. Okay, I'm sure business owners themselves, they may not like marijuana, but they probably get together with other people and enjoy a drink or something like this, from time to time. You know what I mean? I am somebody who is an advocate of marijuana. I do understand that the majority of people who do smoke marijuana do not represent my lifestyle. Okay, I do see the benefits of marijuana. Marijuana has been used for centuries, and it's also, been used when it comes to things relating to medicine. There's multiple good things about marijuana. Okay, and I do understand, just like anything else, people can become addicted. Okay, the goal in life is to create a life where you do not feel like you have to develop addictions. That's the key. Okay, and see, marijuana for me at this moment is a mood enhancer because, especially now, okay, because I realize I don't have anything on the outside. I don't have anything of any value to care about. The only thing I have is what I create. Okay, these people have destroyed everything in my life. There is a form of depression there. I do not deal with the antidepressant. I don't go to doctors. So medication, some people go and use marijuana for depression. I would say that I use marijuana for depression. I also use marijuana to help me relax and sleep. Okay. I would say gone are the days where marijuana affected me to where it was like, oh, it's a 100. When I was younger, marijuana was like, oh, it's a party time. It's a great time. I mean, it was like, it really was. So I'm going to tell you, I was a young woman and I experienced things that I feel that I needed to get out of my system. That is no way saying that they were right, but it's a part of, yeah, it's a part of youth. It's part of what people do, you know what I mean? And it's a part of exploring, and at the time, I would say I would do a lot of excessive drinking. I would do a lot of, things not just to, yeah, just for fun, mostly social and just because, you know what I mean? But yeah, I still use marijuana, but I don't use it like I used to, and it doesn't seem to affect me like it used to. I used to sit there and just be giggling and is whatever. I'm just a realistic person. I'm realistic. That's what I am. Okay, I'm not somebody who acts like I'm holier than thou, like I never did anything wrong or anything. Yes, I've made mistakes, but I've learned from them. You know what I mean? And so I would say, as an adult, I would be a good role model. And some people think that, and yes, I'm a role model, but see, some people want to limit my ability to do things because I smoke marijuana. I'm sure many people who write textbooks for these particular institutions drink wine and everything else, okay? So people need to, I'm hoping that at some point people will get over that, because I have a lot to contribute to society, and marijuana is separate from my work, okay? And it is what it is. So the other issue is that, yes, my story does have a mystical and prophetic feel to it, and what I am trying to do is connect with the right people to be a part of my last journey. Like I had talked about, I have no interest in the cloning process ever. I think it's not something that I want to do. I do feel as though the world needs to transform in order. I feel as though there's like a strong need for me to get at least educate people. Okay, to at least educate people. My goal is to create the new world order. Okay, and I would like to formulate and associate with people who are going to assist me to bring these sort of things in. Okay, to make sure that the earth is restored to the level of Eden. Okay, to the best of its ability. The message I'm getting right now is that I know more than so-called people. This is the form of the new world order. The New World Order is to represent and break free from what we once knew, which was oppression, anxiety, depression. What do I call it? I think I had mentioned depression, but just the things that mankind, the evil that mankind has afflicted onto the world. Okay, and reverse that, educate people, and also increase better law enforcement. Okay, so there's certain sectors of society that need to be examined. They need to be corrected. You know what I mean? Like my situation right now, because we had in this situation, we have Bakersfield employers who, like Alita. Okay, I'm going to mention her, right? Not to stir it up, but just to try to make it relatable. Okay, we had people like Alita and Murray Family Farms, or members of these particular groups, to get together. And a lot of times they feel like, oh, we're on power. They think of it as a competition to where anything and everything goes. Okay. Now, when people do things like, for example, inform things like the police department to participate in gang stalking, and the police department doesn't even recognize that this is indeed a crime, this is a problem. Okay, the police department, anybody that they sit there and brag about, oh, I got a cousin in the police department, and he'll arrest you if I tell him to do so. Okay, right then and there, just by you saying that, you have openly admitted to me that you are part of an organized crime syndicate, and that you now have people in the Bakersfield Police Department that are going to help you with your crime. That's exactly what you're admitting. Okay, and that's the only thing that you're admitting. Okay, the Bakersfield Police Department needs to know the difference between right and wrong, and they need to know what constitutes a crime, and that is not it. Okay, and if the Bakersfield Police Department, or any other police department for that matter, doesn't understand what constitutes a crime and goes around, abusing people or participating in gang stalking, they need to be removed. Okay, and like I said, when it comes to compromising your reputation for a family member or a friend, because a friend wants you, or a family member wants to get you into their personal drama. So let's go back to the person. There was two people that I mentioned that talk about, I know somebody on the Bakersfield Police Department, and I'm gonna get them to get you. Okay, that kind of attitude, and when that kind of stuff comes out of people's mouth, you need to understand that these people are already corrupt. Okay, because there was no crime committed. I didn't commit a crime. So how dare you sit here and try to even mention that and throw that into my face? Okay, but if you know somebody on a police department, or in this case also lawyers or whatever, and you're sitting here saying these sort of things, then I would sit here and never trust a lawyer or the police department. Why? Because they are willing to put their job on the line to participate in organized crime. Okay, so they need to know the difference between what is right and what is wrong, what constitutes a crime, and why they should not sit here and allow personal issues to affect their personal life, their professional life. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about: people who participate in activities that are considered a conflict of interest. And yes, the reason why I talk about these terms and these things that relate to the law is because I'm well versed in it. Okay, I'm well versed in it. And I also, something about me being Jesus. Okay, yes, that is a part of who I was at one time in my many incarnations. Okay, I believe that King Solomon, uh, Jesus, Noah, possibly even Moses. I believe the Bible is written about this one particular person who keeps coming up, keeps getting popped up here, and they've been recording this person, i.e., me, for throughout the ages, and this is what it is. Okay, and yes, I am what they call the chosen one. Okay, and I know it sounds bizarre, but apparently these is what these sort of like underground operations have been doing for a while. And so now that I acknowledge it, and I believe that my connection and understanding of things like the Bible has led me to put together that I must be here to initiate and make people aware of what it is. Okay, I believe that what all I do is promote the new world order. Okay, I do it in every action that I do, and in my the way that I live, the way that I think, and the work that I produce. And so because I have introduced things like employment law, which is not necessarily related to the New World Order, but certainly the masterminds behind these laws that were created are obviously somebody who supports the proper way of life, okay, the proper way of living. And these employers, like when I first moved here to Bakersfield, I was already well versed in employment law when I first moved here. Okay, because like I said, even though people, you don't sit there and tell your friends, you know what, I'm just like digging into this information about laws and stuff because I know that one day I'm going to be the best manager, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I kept thinking, okay, well, I believe that I should be in management. That's where really I should be, okay? So I was studying all of this stuff. So when I first moved into this community, I was like, dang, these people, they act like they don't know. Like, but then I was warned by a lot of people before I moved here that yes, this is a, and no offense, I understand, okay, everybody is guilty of generational ignorance, okay, but there are certain areas that are more likely to have it, and I would say that Bakersfield needs a little bit of help when it comes to these things. And I am in no way trying to make fun of these people because there are some people who just want good lives. They want good lives, but they don't know how. They don't know how to get that. They don't know how to get that. And I'm trying, I'm hoping that through the Swan Song Manifesto and my other educational, I get tongue tied a lot, educational, other educational information that I can help people. You know what I mean? How do people start? How do they? It really starts with their desire. They desire to live better. This is why they do the things that they do. This is why they attack. I understand that you want to live better, okay? But that comes in steps, and you need to learn how to do it yourself. And I'm hoping that I will help, provide information to people in the future, little by little, okay? Because the adults here in this community, they need to speed up. Like they need to be able to. They missed out on a lot of things when they were younger to understand how to behave, how to understand or do things properly, and now is the time where they need to listen, and maybe they can pick themselves up out of this nightmare because it's a nightmare to be, just the only thing that is um, to manipulate or to do unlawful things just to get by. I just accidentally touched my little calendar here on my computer. Looks like December 10th is marked for Human Rights Day, and it says celebrate human dignity. I was never aware of this day being so formal, okay? But human rights is a day that not just everybody has the right to exist, and they everybody deserves to have a life filled free of uh, you know struggle, you know what I mean, and you have to be able to put the wheels in motion to do that, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I want to be able to you know work with other people who are going to help move this forward. And and this goes for employers. I want to find an employer who is serious about, number one, the the products and services that they provide. Okay. One of my biggest disappointments of being in companies where they didn't have a focus, they were more focused on, number one, this stupid competition that they had with me in the workplace. They were also focused on, socialization. A lot of people were focused on, socialization and then trying to be the best. And a lot of times I saw that they were not really making any real progress when it came to the actual sales numbers, okay? The sales numbers. And so I'm a true professional that cares about these things and wants to work for a company that wants to accelerate that. They want to seriously move forward, and I want to have longevity in where I work, because this is something that people just don't focus on. So, like, I have gone to employee meetings to where, we're supposed to be able to, we have plans to get a certain task done. And then the next meeting comes and we're nowhere close to what we originally planned. I did my part, but we don't, everyone else seems to drop the ball. Okay. A lot of people do not know how to organize their work. They don't know how to prioritize. These people do not have the proper education or tools to be in the workforce, regardless of what they say about, what college they went to. And it's a problem. Okay, it is a huge problem. Okay, so I need to work with a company that is dead serious about getting things and moving things forward. It just has to be that way. Okay, I don't want to sit here and waste my time with people who are playing games. Okay, I'm a serious, dedicated employee, and or a 1099 contractor through Gordon's Occupational Engineering. However it is, I'm reliable and I'm wanting people to take me seriously. Okay, so it does, my story does have a prophetic feel to it, and this is, my journey is going to be recorded. Okay, and through things like the Swan Song Manifesto, once I do settle into a job, might be interested in bringing back Monday Merriment for things that I will be working on during the weekend. Like, for example, once I feel like, I'm working and I'm getting things done, would be open to meeting other people, to do things like interviews, and possibly revive Monday Merriment, which I would be working on during the weekend. And then, of course, it would be released every Monday at 7 o'clock, like it used to be. Okay, because I keep getting these messages that people really liked Monday Merriment, and it helped people get through the week and it gave people inspiration. So this is what I'm looking for, and there are certain companies that I could work for that might help me, we could help each other, by helping me establish my projects through their company. And yes, I want to clarify something. Yes, I do care about getting credit for my work. Why? Because, everybody has to have a sense of accomplishment. Okay, and see, what happened at Murray Family Farms was absolutely abusive. Okay, there is nothing wrong with wanting to be acknowledged for your work. Absolutely nothing wrong with being acknowledged for your work. And yes, I do not find it acceptable when people try to pass my work off as their own. Okay, I do not find that acceptable. No, I do not need to be like, I am not somebody who wants to be looked upon as, or in the same class as, I'm not a clout chaser. I am somebody I do understand that, a certain level of focus is on me, but I'm not somebody who, I'm somebody who's just driven. Okay, I am somebody who's driven, and I take my work seriously. And no, I'm not comfortable. I know that people imitate me all the time, and what angers me is that these people who imitate me are the ones who are trying to suppress me. Okay, and then pass my work off as their own, or acting as if, no, I am not somebody who thinks it's okay. I do not overlook that. I look at these people as abusive, and rightfully so. Okay, so I want it to be very clear, and it's not about selfishness. It's about the disadvantage that these people have put me in, and then they turn around and try to take steps ahead. I don't appreciate that. Okay. Let me see. Is there any other misconception that I want to clear up? So yeah, basically, people who I bring into my life right now are going to be a part of my history. Okay, and if you don't deserve to be a part of my history, you're not going to be a part of it. If you're on my track, meaning you're somebody who wants a better life, you want to have a good company, you want to increase your sales, you want to have a good work environment, and you want to be a part of my history, these are the people that I want to associate with. I'm not interested in dealing with drama. This is not about competition. This is about, number one, me working, number two, correcting these issues. And actually, I would say they're both, a part of each other. Anyway, yes, my spiritual views is acknowledged by the entire community as being superior, meaning like not only do I say that I am somebody who takes this life seriously, you can tell it in my actions. Okay, and it is well focused. It is not a way of me trying to deny myself. Some people, they act like they're spiritual only because they're trying to, hide something. Like they're really trying to pretend that they're spiritual, either to deceive people or whatever. No, this is my life. This is my life. Okay, in everything that I do. Okay, and so I'm really proud of my life and my lifestyle, but I do not inflict it on other people. Yes, I'm fine to work with. I could be co-workers with Mormons. I could be co-workers with Catholic people. I could be co-workers with any religion. Okay, but I do not want to, I want it to be well known that the focus is on work and not on debating about religious views, dogma, or anything like that. We are focused on the situation at hand, what needs to get done. And that's the actual day to day functions of the job itself. Okay. Also, the intuitive message that I'm getting is that I should feel free to discuss Gordon's occupational engineering. Yes, this is something that is a part of my professional profile. And in order for me to let people know what it is that I can do, you know, this is an extension of it. Also, it's important that people know that, you know, they have affected my business by creating these issues relating to my employment. Okay, they have affected. This is why I'm saying gang stalking affects every aspect of the target's life. Okay, now they orchestrated, this particular group orchestrated that my son moved in, and I already told you how I felt about that. I am not comfortable with that. Okay, I am not happy that these people took it upon themselves because maybe they thought I should be married, or maybe they thought women shouldn't live on their own. Do not inflict your stuff on me ever. Okay, my son he's a 32-year-old person. He deserves to be out dating to the people that he wants to date. Okay, he deserves to have his own bachelor pad, and maybe if he chooses to get married, bring this person in or whatever, and get married to them or whatever he wants to do. Okay, but I do not. People have stepped way over the line. Okay, and it's unforgivable to me. Okay, so I want moving away from this particular network, and I want to straight shot to people who are on the right track. Okay, I don't want to mess with the human scrap heap or little people that remind me of human scrap heap. I am a dedicated person. I would be a dedicated employee for your company, and this is why I feel like I needed to make this message. Let me see if there's something else I want to say. Yes, I know that they had tried to demote me because of personal reasons. This particular network were in competition and wanted to discredit me, and instead of acknowledging I have over 25 years of accounting experience. Okay, they wanted to just eliminate that based on stupid frivolous things, like they don't like the way that I dress. They might think that they don't. I also addressed this in my last quarterly newsletter. I talked about how these people had beefs with me over things that are superficial, and then I have the right to choose. Like I have the right to like the kind of music that I like, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, and especially since the kind of music that I was listening to is within my own home. Okay, this is what I'm telling you. These people are extremely narcissistic. It's like you do something and they want to penalize you for it, and their mental problems make them think that they have the right to penalize you for it. Like I don't, you're wearing a red sweater that looks good on you, so therefore I'm gonna punish you for it. Or you listen to music that is stupid and old and outdated, so therefore I wouldn't hire you. Well, is listening to my music in the office gonna, do you expect me to listen? I won't listen to my music in the office, and if I did, and if it was allowed to, then I would probably listen to it with my headphones. But see, the music issue has nothing to do with the job. It's got nothing to do with the job. Now, when I was at Murray Family Farms, I listened to music in my office, okay? And I had noticed that when I would go to job interviews, there were other people listening to music in their office. So these people, a lot of these people copy me. They copy me a lot, okay? And it's quite irritating. They will try to prevent me from doing something, but they themselves will do it. Okay, but whatever it is, my preference in music, my preference in things that are subjective are not to be used for employment decisions. So, like I said, I've dealt with a lot of unprofessional people and I'm tired of dealing with it. Is there something else I want to say? People are respecting my royal bloodline, and I'm hoping that, 2026 will be filled with peace and prosperity. I'm going to wrap up this video, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. This video is addressed to the Bakersfield employers, and I am going to be posting it on Facebook. Have a good weekend, or what's left of it. Take care. Bye-bye.